Before she became the wife of the richest man in the world, Lauren Sanchez had already lived multiple lifetimes. From news anchor to helicopter pilot, from red carpet mainstay to aviation entrepreneur. But one chapter that rarely gets enough attention: her role as a mother. She was navigating a far more complex journey: motherhood. To the outside world, she's often portrayed as the glamorous wife of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, a fixture in paparazzi shots and headline-making appearances. But beneath all the glitz, Lauren's most personal, most defining role has always been that of a mother. She's not just part of one of the most high-profile power couples in the world. She's the woman who raised 3 very different, very dynamic children, each with a unique story of their own. Lauren Sanchez didn't just stumble into fame. She earned her place in the limelight, building a successful career as a journalist, TV host, and businesswoman. But in 2001, everything shifted when she welcomed her first child, a son named Nikko Gonzalez. At the time, Lauren was in a relationship with NFL tight end Tony Gonzalez, a star in his own right. Their romance didn't last, but what followed was surprisingly rare for celebrity couples: peace. The two committed to co-parenting their son without public feuds or courtroom drama. And that decision laid the foundation for one of the most quietly successful blended families in Hollywood. Raising Nikko in the early 2000s meant balancing career moves, media attention, and the challenges of joint custody. But Lauren and Tony made it work. Over time, both moved on, Tony eventually marrying October Gonzalez and Lauren marrying top Hollywood agent Patrick Whitesell. Yet their shared commitment to Nikko remained unshaken. This wasn't just about joint holidays or occasional visits. It was a team effort to give Nikko a sense of stability in a world where fame often derails childhood. And Nikko didn't disappoint. Growing up in a world where red carpets and skydiving trips were normal, he somehow managed to remain grounded. By his late teens, he wasn't just attending celebrity events, he was becoming a name himself. In January 2024, Nikko walked the runway for Dolce & Gabbana in Milan, dressed head to toe in high fashion, turning heads and commanding attention like a pro. But just months later, in a moment that spoke volumes about his balance of glam and grit, he graduated college, an academic achievement celebrated across his extended family. On Instagram, October posted a heartfelt message calling Nikko a shining light in all their lives. This wasn't a story of a kid lost in the shadow of famous parents. Nikko was emerging from it, with style, intelligence, and purpose. And while Nikko was stepping into the spotlight, Lauren's own journey was continuing to evolve. After her split from Tony, she married Patrick Whitesell, one of the most powerful agents in Hollywood. This chapter of her life was more private, but no less impactful. In January 2008, Lauren gave birth to her second child, Eleanor Patricia Ella Whitesell. This time, motherhood looked different. Lauren was more established, more experienced, and more deeply connected to her passions. Ella grew up in a home filled with ambition, aviation, and empowerment. From an early age, she showed signs of being her mother's shadow, not just in appearance, but in curiosity and drive. Lauren, who is a certified helicopter pilot, often described flying as her escape, her sanctuary. In one interview with The Hollywood Reporter, she said, "When I'm up there, I'm completely satisfied. It's the only place where I feel totally myself." And it wasn't long before little Ella began to mirror that same fascination with the skies. Though she's the most private of Lauren's children, Ella is often seen accompanying her mom to events, quietly observing, learning, and growing into her own. Insiders suggest she may one day pursue flying herself, picking up the aviation torch where her mom leaves off. In a world where celebrity kids often chase the same red carpet dreams, Ella seems to be following a different compass, one pointed upward. And then there's Evan, Lauren's middle child with Patrick. Less is publicly known about Evan, as Lauren has made an intentional effort to protect certain aspects of her family life. But what's clear is that he, too, is growing up in an environment that emphasizes support, opportunity, and resilience. With a mother who's constantly redefining what it means to be a modern woman, and a father who knows the ins and outs of Hollywood, Evan is poised to create his own path when the time comes. But everything changed again in Lauren's life when her private world collided with the very public one of Jeff Bezos. Their relationship began under intense scrutiny. Rumors, headlines, and tabloid chaos dominated the narrative. When Lauren Sanchez said "I do" to Jeff Bezos in June 2025, it wasn't just the union of two wildly successful people. It was the merging of two very different family legacies, each layered with its own history, its own rhythms, and its own challenges. In the glittering halls of their Venetian wedding, filled with celebrities, CEOs, and royalty, there were also 7 young people standing just outside the spotlight, their children. Jeff brought 4 kids from his marriage to philanthropist Mackenzie Scott. Lauren brought 3, Nikko, Evan, and Ella, from her own journey through motherhood. And together, they've now created what some are calling the new American royal family. But behind the headlines, what does this actually look like? Let's start with what we do know. Nikko Gonzalez, Lauren's oldest, isn't just the eldest child in this blended bunch, he's also the most visible. Born into a co-parenting success story between Lauren and NFL legend Tony Gonzalez, Nikko had the kind of childhood most kids can't even dream about. Celebrity friends, exotic travel, red carpets, and a mother who balanced glamour with grounding. But Nikko didn't just coast on that, he evolved. In 2024, he walked in Dolce & Gabbana's show during Milan Fashion Week, a moment that caught the fashion world's attention, not just because of who his parents are, but because of how effortlessly he owned the runway. That same year, he also graduated from college, a milestone that proved he wasn't all glitz and no grit. In many ways, Nikko is the blueprint for modern celebrity kids, confident, creative, and independent. He has a public profile but still manages to keep a sense of mystery. His social media is sprinkled with adventure shots, cliff diving, skydiving, hiking, and quiet family moments. He appears with his dad Tony one day, then with Lauren and Jeff at a benefit gala the next. He belongs to both worlds, the bold, athletic masculinity of his father and the glamorous, skybound curiosity of his mother. And now, he's being folded into yet another circle, the Bezos empire. Insiders say Nikko and Jeff have built a respectful relationship, not as father and son, but as 2 men with mutual admiration. Nikko reportedly joined family vacations with Bezos early on in the relationship and has been spotted boarding helicopters and private jets alongside the couple. But while Jeff Bezos might dominate business headlines when it comes to her kids, Lauren is the true center of gravity. And she's made it a priority to protect her children's autonomy within this powerful new family configuration. Now let's shift the lens to Ella Whitesell, Lauren's youngest and perhaps the most fascinatingly elusive of them all. Born in 2008 during Lauren's marriage to powerhouse agent Patrick Whitesell, Ella has been kept mostly out of the public eye. And that appears to be very intentional. Lauren has always described Ella as her mini-me, not just in appearance, but in temperament. Quiet, observant, thoughtful, but don't mistake silence for absence. Ella may just be the one following most directly in her mother's footsteps, literally. Lauren is famously obsessed with flying. She's a certified helicopter pilot and one of the few celebrity women who's taken to the skies as more than just a passenger. Flying, she says, gives her a sense of peace and control that nothing else can match. "When I'm in the air," she once shared, "I'm in complete control and completely free." And it seems that passion may be hereditary. While Ella has yet to make a public statement or appearance as a pilot in training, those close to the family say she's already taking lessons, sitting in the cockpit beside her mum, absorbing everything with quiet intensity. Imagine growing up watching your mother command a helicopter the same way other mums command a carpool. That's Ella's world. And now, with the addition of Bezos, who literally owns his own space company, aviation isn't just a hobby in this family, it's a theme. Lauren flies helicopters, Jeff launches rockets. Ella may be the link that ties those two worlds together in the most unexpected way. Then there's Evan Whitesell, Lauren's middle child and arguably the most private of the trio. Born during her marriage to Patrick, Evan has largely remained out of media coverage, and that appears to be deliberate. Lauren has rarely shared details or photos of Evan, choosing instead to offer him a childhood protected from public intrusion. What we do know is this: Evan is growing up surrounded by some of the most powerful forces in entertainment and tech. His dad, Patrick, runs one of the biggest talent agencies in the world. His mom is married to a space racing billionaire. But according to close friends, Evan is remarkably down to earth, more interested in gaming, coding, and design than red carpets or private yachts. One family friend described Evan as the quiet genius of the group, while Nikko grabs headline, "It's easy to get distracted by the shine. Lauren Sanchez's life looks like a glossy magazine cover brought to life. Helicopters, gowns, yachts, billionaires. From an outsider's view, she seems to float effortlessly through luxury, charm, and global attention. But once the cameras stop flashing and the Instagram filters fade, what's left is something far more human and far more rare. Because behind the glitz, Lauren Sánchez is a woman who never stopped being a mother first. Her relationship with her children isn't just an accessory to her public image, it's the foundation beneath everything else. This becomes even more striking when you compare her with other high-profile celebrity mothers. In many cases, fame comes first, and parenting happens in the background, shuffled between nannies and assistants, framed more as content than connection. But Lauren, for all her visibility, has always drawn a line between her public brand and her private reality. Her kids aren't her props, they're her purpose. Take Nikko, for example. He could have easily been typecast as just another celebrity son, coasting on his parents' reputations, partying his way through privilege. But that's not the man he's becoming. Nikko's decision to walk the runway for Dolce & Gabbana was more than a fashion moment. It was a signal that he's stepping into his own light. His graduation from college wasn't blasted across tabloids. It was celebrated quietly, tenderly, with family. And that's the rhythm Lauren has built. Celebrate publicly when needed, but always anchor privately. She's not raising clout chasers. She's raising individuals. That's not easy to do when your life is under constant surveillance. And then there's Ella, the mini-me everyone loves to label, but few truly understand. She's not just copying her mom. She's slowly crafting her own identity piece by piece, with a quiet grace that's rare in today's culture of oversharing. Her interest in aviation isn't performative. It's personal. It's hers. Growing up watching her mother command the sky, quite literally, Ella seems to be preparing for takeoff in her own way, at her own pace. Lauren's own quote, "When I'm flying, I'm home," might one day apply just as deeply to her daughter. And that idea, that Ella could follow not in Lauren's spotlight, but in her spirit, says more about Sanchez's parenting than any interview ever could. As for Evan, the middle child wrapped in mystery, perhaps that's exactly what Lauren wanted. To let one of her children have a childhood out of reach, out of judgment, out of frame. In today's digital age, protecting your child's privacy is a radical act. And Lauren did it. While public curiosity has swirled around her every move, she gave Evan something rare and sacred, the space to grow up quietly. It's the kind of parenting move that never gets headlines, but speaks volumes about values. Of course, raising 3 kids is never just a one-woman job. Lauren's parenting journey has been layered with complex partnerships, each of which shaped her family in a unique way. With Nikko Gonzalez, she navigated the tricky terrain of co-parenting after a breakup. And somehow, they did it without scandal, without courtroom battles, without public drama. Today, they operate more like extended family than exes. Nikko Gonzalez, Tony's wife, regularly posts loving photos with Lauren and Nikko, showing a level of maturity and respect that's almost unheard of in the celebrity world. With Patrick Whitesell, Lauren moved into a different chapter, one filled with quiet power. Together, they raised Ella and Evan, while balancing some of the highest stakes careers in entertainment. And though the marriage ended, the parenting partnership appears to have endured. Whitesell, a master of managing stars, seems to understand the value of protecting young lives from the harshest parts of fame. And now, with Jeff Bezos, Lauren faces a whole new dynamic. Co-parenting not just with exes, but alongside one of the most powerful men in the world. Bezos' 4 children have remained almost completely out of the public eye. A deliberate move by both him and his ex-wife, Mackenzie Scott. This level of privacy is not only respected, but fiercely protected. So when Lauren entered that world, there was a question: could she adapt? The answer, it seems, is yes, but on her terms. While she continues to share occasional moments with her children, she's also respected the boundary Bezos has drawn around his. It's a delicate balance, blending openness with privacy, exposure with discretion. And somehow, Lauren is managing to do both. It's not just about marrying into a billionaire's life. It's about integrating families without losing the soul of your own. The newly formed Sanchez-Bezos family is something of a social experiment. 7 children, 3 past partners, 2 enormous public profiles, and 1 very unconventional blueprint for family life. If you want to understand who Lauren Sánchez really is, you have to start with her firstborn, Nikko Gonzalez. Because in many ways, Nikko's life is the blueprint for how Lauren parented long before the paparazzi started following her every move. Born in 2001, Nikko didn't arrive in a calm, quiet chapter of Lauren's life. He arrived at the height of her early career, when she was making a name for herself in broadcast journalism and navigating the spotlight on her own terms. His father, Tony Gonzalez, was a star tight end in the NFL, an athlete with a magnetic presence and a demanding schedule of his own. And yet, against all odds, Lauren and Tony managed to craft a co-parenting relationship that put their son's needs above their egos. That decision would shape not only Nikko's future, but Lauren's entire philosophy on motherhood. While their romantic relationship didn't last, Lauren and Tony refused to let bitterness define the aftermath. In a world where custody battles become clickbait, they opted for stability, and that choice made all the difference. Nikko grew up with two deeply involved parents, both of whom had moved on but never moved away from their commitment to him. Lauren later married Hollywood agent Patrick Whitesell. Tony married TV personality Nikko Gonzalez. And somehow, all four adults managed to create a support system that most kids, even those in traditional families, rarely experience. Nikko's childhood was unconventional, sure, but it was also deeply rooted. He wasn't passed around like an accessory or raised by strangers. He was present, seen, guided, and it shows. While other celebrity kids may chase fame for attention, Nikko's relationship with the spotlight has always been intentional. He's not allergic to attention. He just doesn't crave it the way some do. When he appeared on the Dolce & Gabbana runway in 2024, it wasn't some desperate grasp at relevance. It was a confident step into his own lane. A young man owning his identity without needing to explain it. But it's not just about fashion. That same year, he graduated from college, something that doesn't always happen in the orbit of Hollywood privilege. It was a moment of pride, shared by both sides of his blended family. October posted a tear-jerking tribute online, calling Nikko a light in our lives and praising his kindness, intellect, and humor. Lauren also marked the occasion, though more subtly, a pattern that's emerged in her parenting. She celebrates loudly when appropriate, but always shields what matters most. And what matters most is that Nikko has balance. He can walk a runway in Milan and then hike a trail in Malibu. He can attend a gala with Lauren and Jeff and then spend a quiet afternoon skydiving with his dad. He exists in multiple worlds: fashion, sports, business, family, and navigates each with grace. That kind of emotional agility doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of deliberate parenting, respectful co-parenting, and a refusal to treat children like accessories in a high-profile lifestyle. What's especially impressive is how Lauren never made Nikko the center of her brand. She's proud of him, of course, but she never paraded him around for likes or headlines. She allowed him to grow at his own pace, define his own image, and step into visibility only when he was ready. Even now, in his early 20s, he maintains a healthy distance from social media drama and viral fame. He's present, but not overexposed, and that's incredibly rare in his world. His relationship with Jeff Bezos is another chapter worth noting. While Jeff has kept his own children out of the spotlight almost completely, he's embraced Lauren's kids with a level of respect that seems genuine. Nikko has been spotted on family trips with Lauren and Jeff, stepping onto helicopters, attending charity events, and appearing in the background of luxury vacations. But there's no sense of forced bonding or awkward stepfather vibes. By all accounts, their relationship is based on mutual respect, two adults navigating a new family dynamic without pressure. In many ways, Nikko has become a symbol of modern celebrity childhood done right. He's not entitled, but he's not deprived. He's stylish, but he's grounded. He's got access to the world's most powerful circles, but he still values family dinners and private moments. And that's because his mom, for all her beauty, fame, and success, never let the world raise him. She did it herself. And that's the part people forget when they talk about Lauren Sánchez. They see the gowns, the yachts, the glamorous Instagram posts, but they don't see the years she spent quietly building a stable, nurturing environment for her son. The rides to school, the soccer games, the messy, ordinary, vital parts of motherhood that never make headlines. Because Lauren didn't just give birth to Nikko, she raised him through love, through compromise, through sacrifice. She raised him to be kind. While much of the world focuses on the loudest voices, the flashiest photos, and the most viral moments, some stories unfold quietly. away from flashing cameras, away from red carpets. Ella Whitesell is one of those stories. She's Lauren Sanchez's youngest child, born in 2008, and in many ways, the most mysterious. But don't confuse quiet with ordinary. Ella might just be the most fascinating piece of Lauren's legacy, and the one who could take it the farthest. Ella was born into privilege, yes, but she was also born into passion. Her mother isn't just a media figure. She's an aviator, a dreamer, a woman who literally lives in the clouds. And from a young age, Ella was introduced to that world. Not through flashy photo shoots or mommy and me PR campaigns, but through real, lived experience. Lauren didn't just tell her daughter she could fly, she showed her. And Ella, watching from the co-pilot seat, began to absorb a vision of life that most kids never see. Unlike her older brother Nikko, who has walked runways and attended high-profile events, Ella has remained largely behind the scenes. And that's not a misstep, as it's a choice. Lauren has kept Ella's life carefully guarded, offering only small glimpses into her daughter's personality and passions. But in those glimpses, a pattern emerges. This girl is not here to be famous. She's here to do something meaningful. Insiders close to the family say Ella is deeply focused, curious, and already thinking about flight school. She's reportedly joined her mom on dozens of helicopter rides, asking technical questions, watching gauges, memorizing flight paths. She's not doing it for TikTok. She's doing it because she wants to know. And that kind of interest, especially in a teenage girl surrounded by fame and wealth, is both rare and powerful. Lauren once said in an interview that flying is where I'm most alive, most in control, most at peace. It's easy to imagine Ella feeling the same. There's something poetic about it, a daughter literally following her mother into the sky, not to be seen, but to see. Not for validation, but for freedom. And then there's her role in the blended family. Unlike Nikko, who had years to build a relationship with his father and step-parents before Jeff Bezos entered the picture, Ella was still in adolescence when her mom's love life became global news. That could have caused chaos, but it didn't. Sources say Jeff Bezos has been incredibly respectful of Lauren's parenting approach, never trying to replace, overshadow, or interrupt existing bonds. Ella reportedly has a strong relationship with her biological father, Patrick Whitesell, and now shares a peaceful, if private, dynamic with Jeff. The beauty of Ella's journey is that it's not performative. She doesn't need to be famous to matter. Her story is unfolding slowly, thoughtfully, with intention. And that's exactly how Lauren seems to want it. In a culture that rushes kids into the spotlight, Lauren has given Ella something more valuable than attention. Time. Time to explore. Time to learn. Time to grow into her own ambition. And with parents who represent the best of Hollywood and aerospace, a talent agent and a pilot, Ella has access to both imagination and execution. She can dream big and be taken seriously. Whether or not she ends up in a cockpit, launching her own business, or choosing a life far from the cameras, one thing is certain. Ella Whitesell is not going to be ordinary. She may not say much now, she may not post selfies or chase followers. But one day, when she's ready, she'll speak, and the world will listen. In every family, there's always one who remains in the background, not because they're forgotten, but because they choose to be there. In Lauren Sanchez's family, that person is Evan Whitesell, her middle child. While Nikko dazzles with his presence and Ella sparks curiosity with her quiet ambition, Evan is the one we rarely hear about. And yet, that very silence might be what makes his story the most intriguing of all. Evan was born during Lauren's marriage to Patrick Whitesell, one of the most powerful agents in Hollywood. His upbringing was far from normal, surrounded by A-listers, billionaires, and one of the most media-savvy families in the industry. Yet somehow, Evan managed to remain untouched by the constant spotlight that circles his family. His name has never trended on Twitter. His photos rarely surface online. And while that might seem strange in a world obsessed with celebrity kids, it's actually by design. From the beginning, Lauren made an intentional choice to shield Evan from the chaos of fame. While she has occasionally shared moments with Nikko and Ella, graduation posts, red carpet appearances, even the occasional selfie, she's remained fiercely protective of Evan's privacy. In a recent interview, a close family friend put it simply, Lauren didn't want to raise public figures, she wanted to raise real people. And that's exactly what Evan is. Real, grounded, independent. Insiders describe him as deeply intellectual, creative, and observant. Unlike his siblings, Evan reportedly has no interest in fame or fashion. Instead, his passions lean toward the quiet arts, design, coding, storytelling. He's the type of person who doesn't need attention to feel seen. He prefers substance over spotlight. And in a family where cameras are never far away, that kind of self-possession is incredibly rare. It's also important to understand the unique pressures Evan faces. As the son of a Hollywood power broker and the stepson of the richest man on earth, the expectations around him are enormous. He doesn't just come from money, he comes from influence. Yet rather than chasing headlines or leveraging connections for clout, Evan appears to be taking a different path. One that's slower, smarter, and far more intentional. He's been described by those close to the family as a deep thinker, someone who asks the kind of questions that stop conversations cold. He's interested in technology, art, and storytelling, not in becoming an influencer or stepping onto a runway. He's the kind of person who might spend hours in a bookshop or on a coding project, totally uninterested in whatever scandal or viral trend is dominating social media. Lauren, for her part, seems to understand that brilliance often grows in silence. She hasn't pushed Evan into the spotlight. She hasn't posted his milestones or branded his identity. Instead, she's allowed him to find his own rhythm. And that might be the most powerful parenting move of all. His relationship with Jeff Bezos is said to be respectful, but distant. Jeff, like Lauren, is highly protective of children and keeps his own 4 kids completely out of the public eye. So when Lauren and Jeff married in 2025, it wasn't a flashy blending of families. It was a subtle merging, where bonds were allowed to form naturally, not forced through press releases or photo ops. Evan's biological father, Patrick, remains heavily involved in his life. The two share a quiet bond that's rooted more in intellectual connection than public performance. Patrick, known for managing high-stakes Hollywood deals, is also known for keeping his family far from the chaos. That attitude has clearly shaped Evan, giving him a framework for living both in the spotlight's orbit and comfortably beyond its reach. There are rumors, of course, whispers that Evan might pursue screenwriting or become a tech founder. He's reportedly been involved in a few early-stage creative projects, but nothing has been confirmed. And maybe that's the point. Evan doesn't need to be understood just yet. He doesn't need to be next. He's still becoming. And in a family where public image is currency, his decision to grow in silence is a bold statement of its own. Because sometimes, the most powerful stories aren't told through headlines. They're lived in quiet moments, in late-night conversations, in art that never seeks an audience. Evan Whitesell may not be the face of the Sanchez Bezos legacy, but he might just be its soul. And when he decides to step forward, if he ever does, it won't be for applause. It'll be because he finally has something to say. When Lauren Sanchez married Jeff Bezos, it wasn't just a union between two high-profile individuals. It was the merging of two very different family philosophies. On one side, Lauren, who has always shared curated glimpses of her children, revealing just enough to humanize her public image. On the other, Jeff Bezos, a billionaire mogul whose children remain so private, most people don't even know their names. That contrast has made their blended family one of the most intriguing in recent history. 7 children now make up their household. 4 from Jeff's previous marriage to Mackenzie Scott, and 3 from Lauren's life before him. But while Lauren's kids have occasionally stepped into public view, Bezos' children have remained in complete shadow. No red carpets, no interviews, no social media presence. Nothing. So how do you blend two families when one has grown up in quiet privilege and the other in carefully controlled spotlight? Very carefully. Sources close to the couple say the transition was gradual. Lauren and Jeff began dating in 2019, but they didn't rush their kids into a blended lifestyle. Instead, they took things slowly, introducing their children over time, building private relationships that had nothing to do with the cameras. Jeff's kids, who range in age from teens to early 20s, were reportedly wary of the public attention Lauren brought with her, and Lauren, in turn, respected their boundaries. In private, though, the families began to find their rhythm. Group vacations, family dinners, quiet milestones. Jeff's children, though never seen, are said to have a warm relationship with Lauren's kids, especially Nikko, who is closest in age. There's reportedly a mutual respect between them. Nikko, with his calm confidence, and the Bezos kids, with their elite academic drive and quiet intellect. One of Jeff's sons is rumored to be deeply interested in science and engineering, following in his father's footsteps. Another reportedly excels in music. But again, none of this is confirmed. That's how airtight Jeff's parenting strategy is. Even after marrying someone as public as Lauren, he's never allowed even a glimpse of his children's private identities. Mackenzie Scott, Jeff's ex-wife, is equally private. Since the divorce, she's become known as one of the most generous philanthropists in modern history, giving away billions in silence. And part of that silence includes shielding her children. By all accounts, Mackenzie and Lauren have mutual respect, but they live in entirely different worlds. Their children remain mostly separate, connected by blood and logistics, but not necessarily day-to-day life. And yet, the Sanchez-Bezos home functions like any modern family household, just with a few more zeros in the bank. There are shared meals, blended holidays, private celebrations, and while we may never see the full picture, those close to the couple insist that what they've built is genuine. Blending families is never easy. It requires patience, humility, and above all, respect for what came before. Lauren didn't come into Jeff's world to take over. She came to be a part of it, on her terms, and with her kids beside her. And Jeff, for all his power, understood the importance of letting things evolve naturally. No forced bonding, no media spectacles, just quiet, real connection. The truth is, no one knows exactly how these 7 children interact behind closed doors. And that's okay, because in a culture obsessed with oversharing, there's something powerful about preserving privacy, about letting children grow without the weight of public expectation, about building family not for followers, but for life. So while the world watches Jeff and Lauren jet across Europe or attend star-studded galas, the real story is unfolding far away from the cameras, in living rooms, on family trips, during quiet conversations that no one will ever see. That's where this blended family truly lives, and that's what makes it real. Behind every viral headline and red carpet moment, there's a question that rarely gets asked. What does all of this mean for the next generation? For Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos, it's not just about helicopters, yachts, or net worth. It's about legacy. It's about what their children are seeing, hearing, and learning as they grow up in a family that defies every conventional blueprint. Because beneath the high fashion and luxury estates, there's a story being written about modern parenting, one that's far more human than most people realize. For Lauren, motherhood has always been the constant. It's what grounded her through a television career, through divorce, through scandal, and even through one of the most talked about relationships in the world. Her kids have always come first. And while Jeff Bezos is often seen as the calculated, relentless builder of Amazon, those close to him say his approach to family is remarkably soft-spoken, private, deep, measured. Together, they represent 2 philosophies that might seem like opposites, but somehow they've managed to meet in the middle. Lauren brings warmth, transparency, and a natural flair for connection. Jeff brings stability, discretion, and discipline. And for their 7 children, that balance creates something rare. A home that's both high-profile and protected, glamorous and grounded. It's not perfect, of course. No family is. Especially when there are so many moving parts. Ex-spouses, differing parenting styles, and massive public scrutiny. But what makes this family unique is that they're not pretending it's perfect, they're just trying. Blending families is never easy. It requires letting go of control, learning to adapt, and choosing love over ego every single day. And that's something Lauren knows intimately. Her ability to maintain positive relationships with her exes is more than just impressive, it's essential. Nikko Gonzalez and Whitesell are still active participants in their children's lives. And rather than treat that as competition, Lauren has embraced it as strength. She knows that children thrive when all their parents, biological or bonus, are united in purpose, even if they're no longer united in marriage. That emotional intelligence extends to her kids too. Nikko, Ella, and Evan have grown up watching their mother navigate some of life's hardest transitions with grace. They've seen her fall in love, fall out of love, find herself again and still remain present, still remain mom. And that, more than any vacation or fashion show, is what shapes who they are becoming. As for Jeff, his journey into this blended family is one of quiet evolution. The man who once obsessed over algorithms and warehouse logistics is now part of family vacations, birthday dinners, and late-night homework sessions. He may not post about it. he may never speak about it publicly. But those close to him say that behind closed doors, Jeff is deeply engaged, especially when it comes to being a positive influence without ever stepping into the role of replacement dad. The media may never get the full story, and honestly, maybe that's the point. The most meaningful parts of this family's story are happening in the moments no one sees. The conversations after dinner, the advice before a job interview, the proud smile at a school recital. These are the threads that hold a family together. Not just shared bloodlines, but shared values, and those values are quietly being passed down. Nikko is becoming a man who respects both style and substance. Ella is chasing a passion for flight with the calm confidence of someone raised to believe in herself. Evan is exploring his world on his own terms, supported by a family that doesn't push him into the spotlight. Even Jeff's children, hidden from view, are said to be thriving in academic and creative pursuits, shielded from chaos, but deeply rooted in love. What's remarkable is that none of this feels forced. The Sanchez Bezos household isn't staging Instagram moments or crafting PR-perfect stories. They're simply living, making mistakes, learning, loving. Just like any other family, only with a few more headlines along the way. But in this media-saturated world, their quiet choices speak volumes. Choosing privacy over performative parenting, choosing grace over gossip, choosing long-term values over short-term validation. And if there's one lesson we can take from their story, it's this. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to show up, again and again, through all the changes, through all the chapters. Because in the end, that's what legacy really is. Not what the tabloids write, not what social media shares, but what your children remember, what they carry forward, what they build on long after the cameras are gone. And as the Sanchez Bezos family moves forward, flying higher, loving deeper, and blending more beautifully with each passing year, that legacy is already being written, not in bold.